party people at? Where they at?
Get down. Time to get on the wall. It's time to party. Hey, it's time to have fun.
Welcome to episode 117 of Amari Purple Talk, a podcast where I share my thoughts on the Prince musical singularity. I'm Richard Cole, the Amari in Amari Communications, and every episode I break down everything in the world of Prince and all Prince-related music and artists, as well as all genres of music that has had a major influence on his art. If you enjoy the content of this episode, please download and listen, like, subscribe, hit notification bells, share the content, and stay up to date on all Amari Communications content. And with that out of the way, let's get started with the show. All right, so I finally had a chance to finish reading Toure's book entitled Nothing Compares to You, An Oral History of Prince. This book has been out, it's probably been about a year or so now. I remember when the book was announced and just kind of reading what the premise of the book was going to be. I was excited about it. Not a lot of people in the Prince musical singularity were, I don't know, how should I say it, were too enthused, or they weren't enthused by the release of this book. Maybe some of the reasons I'll cover during this episode. But I, for one, was excited. And then when I got the book, I started reading about maybe halfway through. And by then, a lot of the sort of negativity from, not necessarily critical reviews, but just from the fan base across social media. I don't know. I just got busy and, with either the show or just, life in general. Just hadn't had a chance to finish it until recently. I had always wanted to do a review of this book, especially like within the first week or two that the book was released. But again, just, some good ideas you don't get around to anyway. But yeah, I'm going to share some thoughts on what I like about the book, things that I didn't like the book, and kind of give my overall impression of it. But those who are unfamiliar with this book, Toure is a very well-respected journalist. He has written many articles for various publications for a better part of a few decades now, since the 90s. He has interviewed Prince. He has also interviewed many members of Prince's bands over the years, proteges, associated artists, ex-girlfriends. So, which is basically what was used to compile this book, minus interviews with Prince. So, not going to go too deep into spoilers with this book. But again, those that are unfamiliar with the book, and if you're interested in still purchasing this book, I'm going to read just a little bit from the dust jacket of the hardcover. And it says, The Real Prince in the Words of Those Who Knew Him Best, from award-winning author Toure. Oh, also, too, he has written a book about Prince. I missed out purchasing that book. I may still go back and get it. And again, that was another one, kind of the reviews, at least amongst the fan community, are a bit mixed. But like I said, I've read articles, interviews that he's done with Prince and enjoyed reading those. For a while, kind of the go-to story with him was about during one of those interview sessions, his opportunity to play basketball with Prince It's quite an amusing anecdote. Like I said, there's been several instances where he's on video recounting those moments. So definitely check those out on YouTube. But again, getting back to the dust jacket, nothing compares to you is a memorizing oral history constructed from years of interviews with dozens of people who spent time in Prince's inner circle, from childhood friends to band members to girlfriends to managers to engineers to photographers and more, all providing unique insights into the man and the musician. Okay, so again, this isn't a biography. I guess the best comparison, given the title, this is an oral history. They kind of remind me of the sort of oral histories that you would see in things like Vanity Fair or something like that. I remember the first time I read something in that format. It was a Vanity Fair piece about the history of MTV. And, for that magazine, I thought that was an interesting premise. And, it tells a story, it has a good narrative, flows from beginning to end. And subsequently, there have been many articles in that format. So this is different because this is collected in a book. So for me, that was a bit of, I don't know, maybe a bit of a letdown. So, but reminder, if you pick this up, it's not an actual biography, it is an oral history. And while a lot of the anecdotes are fascinating, they're interesting, it doesn't, it tries to have a narrative kind of in linear time, but it does kind of bounce back and forth a little bit. But like I said, I'll kind of get more into that in just a moment. It does lean very heavy with what I call the usual suspects, because it's mostly the Revolution, it's mostly Alan Leeds, it's Eric Leeds. So you don't get the full collective of people that were involved in Prince's life. Kind of in a way, it's kind of almost like cliff notes, to Prince's life story. But again, it's just kind of, again, what I call the usual suspects. Maybe Morris Hayes is the only voice or one of the few voices that can kind of comment on the latter eras of Prince's career. My speculation is that probably a lot of people might be holding out for their own book deals. Because you do have Morris Day interviewed in this book. Of course, he already has his own book, Brown Mark as well. Just about everything 80s related. You always have commentary from Susanna, who actually wrote an introduction to the book. You also get Lisa and Wendy. You always get commentary from them, of course, Bobby Z, Matt Fink. But like I said, there's a lot of members from later eras. You don't have, let me try to pull somebody out, Sonny T, you don't have Michael Bland. And like I said, could be possible that they're holding out for their own book deals and want to save some information. Who knows? But that's just speculation on my part. And like I said, it does kind of cover the greatest hits. Now, I don't mean the music, but some of the bullet points that many of us are already familiar with. And that might have been what the turnoff would have been about this book. Didn't find a lot that was revelatory in it. And again, I didn't have a huge problem with that, but that was sort of one of the things that I was initially disappointed with. So again, I would say that to many, this would be a Cliff Notes to his life story. So with that said, I'm going to go into what I like about the book. What I like about it is that it's more of a character study and not a biography. And kind of reading some of the quotes from a lot of the members of the, whether it's the Revolution or Jill Jones or even Alan Leeds. Like I said, not a lot of revelatory information, but a lot of insight into who he was. And, I don't think that he revealed himself 100% to one person. So, yeah, Alan Leeds will have one perspective. Jill Jones would have another perspective. Morris Day would have another perspective. And they all acknowledge that he was always guarded. So he didn't always let you in, no matter how close of a friend or lover or whatever. You never got him 100%. And a lot of times I think that is much to the chagrin of the rest of us in the Prince musical singularity. I remember one of the episodes, our own Alex B, made a brilliant comment about how, when we experience our favorite artists, not just Prince, but just our favorite artists in general, we're kind of isolated in our own space, in our own environment. So it's starting off with that one room, wherever you are, if you're a teenager or if you were a kid back, whoever you started listening to, or when you first started buying your own records, and you're in that room, whether it's your bedroom or wherever you were listening to music, that was your personal space, and you've got your world around you. And so your five senses are perceiving that world around you. And now you've got this music or this movie or whatever's beaming into your existence and tapping into your frequencies. That we sort of blend realities. And I'm kind of paraphrasing what he was actually saying, but you're absorbing this image or the myth, or you're vibing off of whatever good feeling the music gave you or the film gave you or whatever it is. And you sort of form this image of the person, and that image is what you cling to. So when someone has that opposing view, then in some cases it is natural. If it doesn't vibe with what you're thinking or what you're believing, you're kind of caught up in that, where it's like, oh, you don't know who he is. You don't know him. You don't know him. Oh, no, he would never do that. Or he would never say that. Or he wouldn't have done this if he was still here. Or, we kind of form these opinions. And that's okay. We all do that. That's fine. We all do that. But all of that to say that when it comes to Prince and dealing with a lot of the subjects or the bullet points or things that we're choosing to turn a blind eye to or refusing to acknowledge or accept, I think it's just everyone's way of healing, and everyone's healing in their own way. And that's okay. So definitely, it's okay, but let's not try to invalidate those that knew him or try to project too much of, oh, they're doing this for the spotlight, or they're doing this for the money, or they never would have done this. We're all in our own way trying to protect that legacy. Toure's no different. I'm no different. Other podcasters are no different. We're all trying to preserve the legacy so that it doesn't, sort of get whitewashed in the process. That it doesn't become revisionist history. Let's embrace the totality of the human being and also recognize that he's a human being. Granted, with a very exceptional talent, very exceptional. Uh, that's the thing. It's like none of us are that famous. That's just a fact. We're not that famous for, we can walk out our doors and nobody would care less who we were, except the people that care about us. And that's fine. And that's okay. And for a lot of people that are sort of in the music business or in the industry at a certain level, and you encounter certain type of celebrity, trust me, those people, as great as they are, as talented as they are, remember, very few people get to the heights of whether it's a Prince or a Michael Jackson or an Elvis or Michael Jordan or an Eddie Murphy or, you know, any Beatle or whatever, Rolling Stone or whatever. Very few people get to that echelon of fame and success. And the pressures, it can change you. And especially if you're a single person like a Prince or Michael Jackson or like an Elvis, to where, yeah, you've got people around you, but only you know what you're dealing with. And I think what this book tries to attempt is to really give you a character study into what that human being would possibly experience based on the perceptions of people that knew him best. And even though, again, it falls to the usual suspects, you got to remember that is at the epitome of, or the peak of his fame. Not to say that after that he was washed up. That is not the case. He's reinvented himself numerous times. He was able to navigate the waters of longevity. But those peaks and valleys of longevity never would have occurred if he didn't have his, sort of Elvis Michael Jackson moment with, whether it was 1999, definitely Purple Rain, and 2 or 3 albums after. We would not have these discussions. Most of you would not have a 90s era to love and cherish, or a 21st century era to love and cherish. And I get it, you get a little miff when, oh, there's a piece of this that comes out. But I'll get to that in another episode. But again, getting back to the character study of the person, that's the thing, to try to put together the pieces or connect the dots of who this human being was. And a lot of us, like I said, with Toure's book, a lot of us with our podcasts, we try to connect those dots in our own way, the best way that we can convey it. It's because of we're relating our own personal experience to try to interpret or connect those dots, or to protect certain aspects of the legacy so that it doesn't get co-opted, so it doesn't get whitewashed. And again, to keep a balanced perspective on the totality of a human being, like I said, albeit one that is like uber talented to make the impression, to be the force of nature that he was. So another thing that I like about the book is that while there are actual biographies that are in the wild, some still in print, some out of print, some that are out of print that if you can find them, I recommend that you find them. Even Prince's own attempt at an autobiography. While all of those are good at either attempting to tell the whole story or do a very great job up until a certain point based on when those biographies were released, they do a great job. I would recommend this book as a good deep dive for newer fans. So, if you're one album in welcome aboard. If you're 2 or 3 albums in, welcome aboard, and you want to know what all the fuss is about, and you kind of want something that is readily available, while I do recommend the beautiful ones for the simple fact that for at least 50 pages, you get the story from Prince's own words. And while there are other books out there that tell a story, and highly recommend it, I'll probably do a show about that at some point. But if you're brand new, again, welcome aboard. I would recommend this book. If you want to learn something more than what you might already know, this would be a good starting point. If you want to start here and then eventually branch off into other biographies, or if it may inspire you to pick up the beautiful ones and read that. So I would highly recommend this book. Again, I think because it does cover the same bullet points that, or anecdotes and certain things that we've, depending on how old most of us are, but things that we've known for literally decades, you might have some struggle with it. I know there were some where it's like, okay, I know that story already. Okay, the whole Purple Rain thing. Oh yeah, been through that a million times. Even the Sign of the Times, there have been through that a million times. There are some anecdotes that are quite interesting. I did enjoy the sort of assessment from various Prince related or artists or whatever, proteges, band members, about Prince's relationship with his mom and dad, mostly his mom, because we don't get a lot of insight about that relationship. Again, the one with his father's one that we've all kind of, as information would come to light over the decades, that we're more familiar with. But the relationship with his mom, it's interesting because if you do read the beautiful ones, if you haven't, this is going to be a spoiler. I don't know if it's a thing to where as he was writing the book that, all of his memories are now fond, or he was able to forgive in certain areas, maybe due to her having passed, versus what people were noticing or witnessing in real time as he became more and more famous and more successful. So I thought that was interesting. Trying to think, there's another section in the book, sort of, his relationships with, his work ethic, in regards to certain band members or protege acts. Again, some of it is sort of the bullet point stories that we've heard for a while, but every now and then there would be maybe a comment by one person or a couple of persons that would add a little bit more to the narrative regarding those. So I thought that was enjoyable. Probably one of the most important parts is the end of it. And the end of it is something that all of us, like I said, those that have actually experienced Prince in real time, are having a struggle with, and dealing with it, because nobody wants to talk about the end or why and how, or, denial, but it's unfortunate, but you have to deal with that end, just like with Michael Jackson or just like with Elvis, you have to deal with the end. And I think a lot of times, instead of focusing on the end, then we try to figure out the why. What went wrong where? With Michael Jackson, was it one plastic surgery too many? Was it trying to top Thriller so much that it became such an obsession that it affected judgment in other things? Excuse me. With Elvis, it's like if he had just jettisoned the Colonel, in 1972, would things have been different? And with Prince, you have to acknowledge that. Again, I don't want to go deep into spoilers. If you're interested in finding out for yourself, by all means, purchase this book. And I want to try to, like I said, I don't want to read the commentary. Let me try to paraphrase it a little bit. I think what it came down to as he got to his final years, there's no wife, there's no girlfriend or steady girlfriend, there's no house, he's living in Paisley Park, a little room. I mean, maybe, I don't know how little, but compared to the homes that he's lived in, it's a little room, even smaller than a studio apartment at least. And no relationship with any surviving relatives. The consensus is that the Prince Musical Singularity, became his family. And to maintain that relationship, he had to give everything, and to maintain, because he's no longer 30, he's no longer 25. And the cost to whatever it is, to maintain the myth, to maintain the image, to maintain that everything is okay, so we can keep going to the concerts, so we can keep buying the records. What cost would that have been? And I'm not placing blame, or the book doesn't place blame on our shoulders. Like it's not our fault that happened. And we have no way of knowing if that was what exactly was in his head or what he was thinking. And I don't want to turn it into a conspiracy theory episode. But I mean, that raises one valid question. And I think it is probably one of the most important questions in the entire book. In which this commentary made by the author, in that statement, it's like, yeah, he's exactly right. Or it's sort of like, the Falcon and Baron Zemo. It's like, man, that was out of line, but he was right. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard. I look at it. There's a quote by George Harrison in regards to the Beatles. It was on the end of the Beatles anthology. Kind of as it's everyone's final thoughts on the whole Beatles thing. And the quote is that they gave their money and they gave their screams, but we gave our nervous systems, which is a much harder thing to give. And it would have been, I don't know, who knows, maybe it would have been better if Prince was part of a group, a band, where it's the four of you. You're the four best friends. You're the four brothers. And you're going through the experience together. Like I said, Michael may have had the Jackson 5, but honestly, he was miles away and miles ahead of whatever the mission statement of the Jackson 5 or the Jacksons were. They were content with where they were. And not to say that they're not talented. They were all talented in their own right, and contributed some very good pieces of music. But they felt that they had already made it. Maybe they felt that they were no longer hungry, and Michael was continuing that hunger. But then it cost him, practically almost, cost him his very soul. And the same, or similar with Prince. Now Prince was never an insecure cat in regards to where he never had to change his face. Maybe he felt he always had to be dressed to the nines 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and didn't feel comfortable to just relax in a pair of jeans and kick back and chill, or sit back and kind of reflect and go, okay, what's the next musical move I can make, instead of, okay, I've made this one, now I got to rush and go on to the next one. Or the need to be such a dynamic performer that regardless of the pain, would we have been able to accept? And well, I tell you what, yes, we would have, because we've seen evidence of that with the Piano and Microphone tour. Those of you that were able to witness it firsthand. We would have accepted a Prince that all he had to do was sit down at the piano and just play. We would have been content with a Prince that just sat there with an acoustic guitar and just played. We would have been content with that. There's millions of films of him diving off of pianos, hitting, triple splits and doing the James Brown stuff and all of that. There's plenty of evidence, been there, done that. But honestly, at the end of the day, at its core, it's the music, and we would have been okay with that. And maybe it was too little too late. Hopefully, like I said, you guys that witnessed it, at least you let him know before he checked out that, yeah, it was okay. It was okay to do that. Maybe if he thought of doing that 15 years earlier. Who knows? But like I said, that's a very interesting point that was brought up in that book. And like I said, probably the most interesting takeaway from that book for me. So those were the things that I enjoyed about it. What I didn't like about it, it's nothing heavy. Like I said, I'm not one of those detractors that is like, oh, he's just cashing in, or oh, he's just doing that, or they're always talking to the revolution. They never talk to anyone else. But you know what? Like I say, hey, you talking about people trying to cash in and do this and money grab and all of that. You know what? The people that you don't see in this book, the ones that might be possibly holding out for the big book deal and all of that, or not talking to certain podcasters or certain people because they're holding out for, they trying to hold on to the book deal and all of that. Hey, like I said, let's not beat up on these folks either way, from any era. Let's not jump on these folks. They were there. They got to experience it. And, whether they're continuing to live their best life, or let's put it this way, they got to live their best life by working for the dude in whatever capacity, band member, artist, makeup person, photographer, this person, that person. They got to live that best life. We're just kind of on the outside looking in, and we're catching some of that energy and enjoying some of that energy. Let's just celebrate. Let's just continue to celebrate the music, celebrate the individual, and even while we're struggling to connect the dots, or put it, find the humanity in this person. That's the key. That's what's going to work. Whether it's a documentary or hell, if somebody ends up doing a biopic at one point, let that actor and director find the humanity of the person. Forget about the image. Forget about Purple Rain this, Purple Rain that. Forget about the 90s, the symbol, and all that other stuff. Find the humanity, find the human, and what motivated them to navigate those highs and lows of fame and success. Let's just do that. But getting back, like I said, what I don't like about the book, I would have preferred this as part of, again, like a Vanity Fair piece. And I know they did one, and it was, now here's the key. I think this is, probably why this book leans heavily on The Usual Suspects. Because I think it was a Vanity Fair piece. I forget which magazine it was, but it did that sort of oral history format. But it did lean heavily on the people that was sort of in the picture later. Like you got a lot of Van Jones commentary, and then there was a lot of Judith Hill, and there was a few other folks that was kind of, the later period, which was okay and which was cool. But even with that piece, just like with this book, I wish it would have been able to encapsulate everyone, from the early days to the last days, have everyone involved in that. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with either one, but that's just sort of my one, and it's a small one. One of the things I didn't like was that I would have preferred this as part of a magazine article instead of a book. But again, I'm glad this book exists, because like I said, it's kind of a Cliff Notes version for newer people to come in and, like I said, kind of get some kind of balanced perspective, and not sort of the whitewash, Wikipedia version of, whoever's book or whatever, or somebody's magazine articles that know nothing about Prince or know nothing about the inner circle and the proteges or something like that. So criticism, but it has a purpose. Another one, again, like I said, the wider range of voices to make it a complete narrative. So with that being said, it does feel a little incomplete to me, because there's a lot that could have been covered, and he did the best that he could with, the interviews that he was given, or at least allowed to utilize for this book. So again, it's a little small thing, but nothing that should detract you from picking this up. Maybe perhaps a more singular focus on a particular event or series of events would have worked better using the oral history format. Again, we don't need necessarily another book about Purple Rain. There's many other eras where you could have done an oral history and make it about as long as this book or longer. That would have been more effective. I mean, you look at things like Dwayne Tudor's books, even though they're more reference books in a way, more so the Parade Sign of the Times era book, it has more of a narrative because there was so much that was going on in addition to the recording sessions that I would like to see a movie made just on that alone. Just that right there. Hollywood, if you're listening, don't do the bullet point biopic. He was born here. He went through this, went through that, the end. Somebody do a biopic on just the Parade Sign of the Times era, or do a movie on the Parade Sign of the Times era, and it would be a hit. It would be a success. But that being said, as far as the books go, I think if Toure took a more singular event or series of events, I think it would have made a more interesting read, as opposed to trying to do the sort of paint by numbers, early career, mid career, later career. But again, it's a small criticism. And again, didn't take away from my enjoyment of the book overall. So, what do I think of the book overall? Again, like I said, I think it's great for newbies. I might read it again and find something else or approach something from a different perspective or a different angle that even if it is something that's paint by numbers, then I'll go, oh, you know what? I didn't think of it that way. So yeah, I think it is a book that I'll continue to kind of reference from time to time. Again, it's not a bad book at all. It didn't deserve the sort of venomous hate that, but again, everything is subjective, books, movies, music, what one person likes, the other person doesn't like, and it's all good. It's all okay. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with liking something that nobody else likes. There's nothing wrong with not liking something that everyone likes. It's all good. But like I said, when it comes to hate, and name calling and racism and all this other stuff, then all that's uncalled for. It's not necessary. Just say you don't like it. Or, like Prince said, wouldn't it be cool if we just talked about the things that we liked? Like I said, I pick on the Planet Earth album all the time. It's not my favorite Prince album, but I respect people that enjoy the hell out of it. And again, even with things I don't like, there are little things that I find that I do like in it. And maybe I tend to focus more on those things. But again, we're all human too. We all have that I don't like that. No, that sucks. That's terrible. But, let's stop kind of being venomous towards folks. Now if a person is just wrong, they're just plain wrong. There was one author of a book recently, and one I gave a very balanced review on. But when it comes down to not physically attacking, but verbally attacking a fan because he doesn't enjoy your work, and it wasn't that the person was being venomous towards that author. It was just basically just a constructive criticism. Then that's that stuff is uncalled for. So like what we try to say on this show is give it a chance. What our co-host Alex D said once, just give it a chance. It's like, don't just come out and just say, oh, I don't like this person, or I don't like this book. Give it a chance. And again, you might find some things that you might like about it, and if it's meant for you to like it overall, like it overall. And it's okay if you don't like it overall, or if you only like certain aspects of it. But I'm glad I finally had a chance to finish reading this book. And again, check it out if you don't have it. It's worth checking out. And again, if you're a new fan, if you're new to the Prince musical singularity, then like I said, it's a good start. And then if you really want to take a deeper dive, there's other material out there in the form of books. Like I said, some are out of print, but if you can find them, by all means, check them out. There's Prince's The Beautiful Ones. You can check that out. There's Morris Day's biography. Check that out. There's books. Actually, I haven't had a chance to read. I've never read Maite's book, so I might have to do a dive on that and give my thoughts, because that's another one where it's sort of this dividing line. There's the pro Maite and the anti Maite, and it's like, come on, y'all. Again, it's ludicrous where it's like, she got to live her best life, at least for a few years, with him, and a lot of pain and a lot of struggle, and some very sensitive situations that some people might be familiar with and some have never experienced, and but yet and still it's heavy and it's painful and it's personal, but to blanketly hate a person, and especially when they've gone through something like that. And let's be fair, dude wasn't exactly a prince during all of that, but that's human. That's being human. And given such adversity, none of us are qualified to say, oh, well, when this situation comes up, this is exactly how I'm going to act. There are experiences that prepare you for adversity. And then sometimes there's adversity that tests your mettle, that, yeah, you might have all of the training and you may have some of the tools and the resources, but sometimes stuff comes out of left field, and you can't be the same 24 hours a day. And some days you get caught off guard, and that's a part of the universe. It's a part of adversity. Repetition does not guarantee certainty. So I don't know. I might once I read that, then I'll do a review on that as well. But for Toure's book, again, by all means, check it out. Those that have read it already, what do you think? Did you like the sort of format, the oral history format? Do you think it worked for a book? Does it make a good reference book for Prince? Do you think it makes a good starting point for new people that they only got a couple of albums now and they kind of want to learn about the person? Do you think it's a good character study? Or even if it wasn't your favorite, what were the things that you didn't like? But like I said, keep it cool. Don't, I don't want to hear no hate. Don't want to hear no racism or nothing. Just, but just do tell me what it is that you didn't like as well. Leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. That is going to end this episode of Amari Purple Talk. Remember to like, subscribe, hit notification bells, share the content, download the content, tell all your friends, your neighbors, tune in to this show. Keep this show going by purchasing Amari merchandise, whether it's Amari Purple Talk t-shirts or We Funk t-shirts. There's also a We Funk single that is on Bandcamp. All the links to how to support are right there in the show notes. So help me keep this show going. And until the next episode, create your day and then create your life. Peace. People, we're the purple party people now. Time to get on the one. Keep it on the one. So we're all the purple party people now.